Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for a very special Silversea webinar. My name is Anna. I'm an Industry Relations Manager here at CLIA, and I'm going to just quickly go through some housekeeping before introducing our presenters. This webinar will run about 30 minutes with time for questions at the end. Please feel free to type your questions into the questions module of the webinar, and we'll get to them at the conclusion of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on CLIA's YouTube channel, which is CLIA Global. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce our presenters, Joe Leone and Carl Canstetter. Joe currently serves as the Vice President of Field Sales for Silversea and leads Silversea's sales team, working with the area sales directors, inside sales, and business development teams to ensure that all travel partner needs and requests are met. He brings with him over 25 years of travel experience working both on the travel agency side as well as the supplier side. And joining Joe is Carl, who is the Director of Expedition Sales for the Eastern US and Canada, and has over 30 years of experience in the travel industry. And with that, take it away, Joe and Carl.
Gotta mute myself first. Thanks, Anna. And welcome, Carl. Thanks for doing this with me, buddy. I appreciate the very kind introduction. Thanks for not calling us cruise dinosaurs, even though we might be. Really excited to be here today to talk to you guys. About as excited as I've been to do a webinar in the last 15 months, and it's because we're talking about getting back to work. We're going back to the ocean. We are going back to sea. Our customers are going back to their ships and the places they long to visit. And most importantly for you, commission checks are on their way back to your agencies if you're selling us this summer. We've got a few different itineraries for you to dive into, but as I do traditionally through all of our webinars, and our team here at Silversea, we want to start by talking about really the brand pillars, what makes us so different and unique in this space, and then we'll get into the details of how we're going to get back to the ocean and delivering some memorable experiences for your customers this summer. So of course, when asked what makes Silversea different from all other cruise lines, all other luxury cruise lines, you all know the answer to be destinations, and of course that's our business. We take folks to places. But the facts are Silversea sails to over 900 destinations in a single year. That's more than double any cruise line in any market of the industry, and over 500 more from our closest luxury competitor. And what you see here on the map is that deployment. As you can see, if land meets ocean, it's on our deployment in our calendar at some point throughout the year. And it's not just the really neat stuff that we do on the expedition side, taking you to Antarctica or the Galapagos or the remote regions of the Russian Far East. It's how we call and invest to make the classic ports special and submerge you into these cultures and these destinations as your customers envision. And so remember, when you sail to St. Petersburg on Silversea, you sail and dock downtown at the English Embankment. There's hundreds of ports like that around the world. Our ships are narrow enough to make those turns up those rivers and bring you right downtown so that your customer has more than just a ship to take them somewhere. We become part of that destination immersion and experience as well. And how do we get you there? We get you there by operating the largest luxury fleet in cruising today. We currently have 9 ships in the fleet. We're taking delivery of a 10th, and as you can see here on this slide, 12 by the end of next year. Really, really exciting. Our segment is growing so fast and so rapidly, and our buying patterns, our consumer behaviors are so healthy right now. We're seeing record booking days for future years. So thank you for your continued support. And remember that the second pillar of Silversea to complement our destination offering, and how we get there is by offering these beautiful ships, these small, intimate ships. But one thing that you'll find throughout, great sense of space. We have large hardware here, large tonnage, taking few amounts of passengers. And as you can see, this is not a one-size-fits-all fleet. We have a range of different sizes, making us the space leaders in luxury as well. So please remember that destination by far the biggest difference. This beautiful luxury platform we've spent 27 years perfecting. And then the last is what your customers probably don't expect from a luxury purchase. And a lot of similarities here between us and the other luxury competitors. And that's because we've all worked hard to create this standard luxury lifestyle on board. And that means inclusions. Everything has to be included. We include airfare on all of our destinations. All of our sailings after June 1st of 2022 will feature excursions in every port. We'll take care of those operational needs and hotel nights where necessary. Transfers and luggage handling are included. Butler Service in every category. We're the only ones to do it. This is much more than just an elevated title for a room steward. You have a room attendant. you also have a butler. That person is there to take care of your customer's most intricate and intimate details and needs. And then, of course, premium beverages available throughout. Our ships have up to 8 different dining venues to choose from, giving us the greatest and the most choice culinary experience at sea in the luxury market. And then when you sail with us on expedition, we include everything today and for the future. All exploration is included. You know, we are the infrastructure in a lot of these places. So you have guided Zodiac tours, always with one of your expedition leaders. These are scientists that are at the top of their field, and they're really there to bring these destinations to life for you. And of course, there's always a complimentary gift, whether you're in the polar regions sailing and receive a parka, or in the tropical regions, we send you out with a backpack and a water bottle. But really what all these inclusions mean, it's not just an enjoyable vacation, it's value. And that's what really the most important part of your conversation should be with customers, particularly those that are looking to increase or improve their overall vacation experience and move up into luxury. I encourage you all to please build comparisons, build value comparisons for your customers. There are 2 numbers they see in this transaction. There's the price and there's the cost that they realize when they get home. At Silversea, the price and the cost are the same number. And it's up to us to make sure that we have customers realize that by building these comparisons, moving them up from the lower markets. Many of them are paying for opulent and large suites on some of these larger vessels, but they're sharing the public spaces with thousands of other folks. That's changed, particularly now. Passengers have different needs, and space is going to be amongst the top of the list. So please remember to build those value comparisons, and always remember the 3 pillars of distinction with Silversea. It starts with destination. That really is our focus. We build this product for the curious. We have the largest luxury fleet at sea, and of course, the strong value proposition. We really believe we bring you the strongest value proposition in luxury cruising today. So let's get to why you all joined us here today and why I'm so excited. It's because in less than 10 days, actually exactly 10 days, we're going back to the ocean for the first time in 15 months. Really hard to believe, but it's been through your extraordinary support that we have been able to get to this point. And really get back and look at the beautiful destinations that we're taking customers to. We're going to start with Greece. It was the first announcement we made. We'll be starting with the sailing on June 18th. We had planned to visit a few stops in Israel, but recent events has caused us to change, call an audible on that and change a few of the different ports. But we're going to stay strong and head to the Med and continue to operate our round trip to Athens itineraries as we had originally announced. We have a 10-day itinerary that departs on June 18th and runs every other 10 days, as you can see here, through September 6th. And these are some of the beautiful and iconic Greek ports of call that you'll be able to visit. Visiting the Temple of Athena in Rhodes is a great example. And of course, the biblical and historic city of Limassol in Cyprus. And then our second itinerary, this is the one that's been altered to remove Israel, but included an additional stop in Crete and Armagoros in Greece, as well as some of the other iconic Greek islands here as well, Santorini, and then of course another stop in Greece and Rhodes, and heading back to Cyprus here on this itinerary as well. This departs on June 28th on its first voyage and will continue on every other 10 days until August 27th. So we're so very proud and excited to have announced this itinerary. It's performing very well. We have plenty of space available, so I encourage you, contact your customers. They're pent up. They've been home for a long time, and they're really looking to get out. I'll give you a story. One of our best Venetian Society members called me when we announced this, and he said, "Joe, I booked. I'm going to Greece." And I said, "Well, John, you've been to Greece so many times. How many days did you book?" He said, "All 90 of them." And that's because John's been home too long, and so he doesn't care how many times he's been to Greece. He's been home too long. So take that for what it's worth. Your customers are looking to get out and see the world again, and even visit places that they may have visited in the past. And if you put them both together, this is the beautiful itinerary that results from it. And there is an additional 5% savings that's been awarded, and John Thompson did get the benefit when he took all 90 days of that 5%, and as will your customers when they get those all together. So what's included? What are we doing for our return to service? Well, first of all, on the right-hand side of the slide, you see our standard inclusions. This is our luxury lifestyle. This is our value proposition, our promise to you and to our customers, and this is going to stay constant. We are also including round-trip economy flights, which we do currently. The only difference between this and our normal air offer is there's limited amount of business class lift, and you will not see reduced business class offers on these itineraries for the immediate summer. But we do have business class fares available upon request. However, round-trip economy class is included in every fare you see advertised. And of course, there's a non-use credit for those passengers that prefer to get there on their own. And we are going to include excursions in the Med. We are adhering to the different policies of the different health organizations that really govern these areas that we're visiting. And for Europe, it's the EU Healthy Gateways. And so their recommendation for us is that we do have verified shore excursions and that we work with suppliers and vendors that have gone through the same protocols and safety measures that your customers and our crew have, so that we can ensure to keep as safe a bubble as possible. So who's sailing to the Med and what ship? Really excited that it's on our newest ship, the Silver Moon. She still has that brand new ship smell. You know, she has yet to sail off with passengers. And for those of you that can still get customers on June 18th, what a rare opportunity to be the first passengers to ever sail on a brand new ship. We do inaugural and maiden voyages when we launch ships all the time, but usually the first few sailings were a shakedown cruise that were filled by us and industry professionals like yourselves that are there to make sure that our ship is ready to receive passengers. Well, this year we didn't get the opportunity to do any of those, and so her maiden voyage will be her maiden voyage. It'll be the first time, and so make sure your customers are part of that exclusive group that could say they set sail with a ship and called into port for her first port ever carrying passengers. Now, what's new on the Silver Moon? All of the beautiful spaces, and it's the dining really that makes this ship so special. We have 8 different dining venues to choose from. All of them are represented here, from the intimate La Dame, which holds just 70 places, down to the really new and innovative Salt Kitchen and the Salt concept that's going to be introduced and unveiled on the Moon. It's a program that we've been working on now for the better part of 2 years, and we're so very excited to finally have a galley in a space to be able to deliver that promise, where your customer's menu and their cuisine changes as the ship's deployment changes, and you will taste the flavors of the port that you're calling on that day. And that's really what the idea is behind Salt. And all of these beautiful venues have their own spin and their own themes and inspired cuisine. We have casual options like the grill, as you can see here on the outside. Atlantide and Salt are the 2 largest. Each of those hold 200 passengers. These are mostly open seating dining. Kaseki and La Dame are very limited in capacity, so we do require reservations. But I hope you agree, we offer the most in culinary options at sea in the luxury market. So I talked a little bit about Salt and what it means. It doesn't mean we're going to oversalt your food in that restaurant. It stands for Sea and Land Taste, and it's really our way of bringing your port and your destination onto the ship and continuing that education process and that cultural immersion that takes place when you visit abroad. And Salt is made up of 3 venues, and we call it the Salt ecosystem. And it's 2 venues that are open to the public for the ship. So we've got the Salt Kitchen. This is where your menu changes daily, right? We will keep maybe 3 or 4 items the same, and everything else changes. We were really excited about this. I'm not sure how the culinary team felt when we brought up the program, but they were certainly up for the challenge, and I can tell you they're excited to show your customers what we can do at sea with food. And so look for the Salt Kitchen and details on that. Salt Bar is the same concept, just with beverages. And so we'll feature different flavors and beverages, libations from all of the different ports of call that you're visiting on that particular day. Again, these 2 venues are open to the entire ship. And the sign-up program is the Salt Lab. This is more than just a test kitchen. This is more than just create your favorite Silversea recipe here with our guest chef or our chef coordinator on board. This is taking you ashore, learning from local experts, really understanding the history behind the flavors of culture, why certain ingredients are used and are so prevalent, and how meals are prepared. So we're looking forward to unveiling this in Greece, where we're going to be able to do a lot with the flavors that are found in that region. And space, I talked to you about space. It's not just about the large space, because I think that's big. To remind customers from the lower markets that sailing on a small ship doesn't mean that you have confined spaces. You have large public areas that you're used to and you experience on other vessels. You're sharing them with fewer people. But we have the intimate space too, like you see here on the Arts Cafe. This is our spin on Starbucks, except I hear we have a great Bloody Mary bar in the afternoon, and a really popular place for our customers. We find a lot of guests that are spending time here on sea days, reading books, and spending time with each other and family. So Arts Cafe, it's just one example of the intimate little spaces we have on board. And then of course, the large amenity areas that your customers are enjoying on the other lines. The spa, the large theater that puts on major production shows. We've got the shopping areas. There's a casino on the classic ships. Of course, a large and spacious pool area. We talked about all the different dining venues and all the different selections and options that are available for you. And then of course, the suite life, right? What is the suite life and the suite standard that is Silversea? We built the first luxury built ship in 1994 with the introduction of the Cloud. She was the first to go all suite, mostly balcony, 285 square feet, and we continue to innovate and improve on this concept. This is what we've accomplished so far. This beautiful suite is our entry-level veranda. It's 387 square feet, excuse me, 386. And the only difference between this and a Vista is that back window is a large window instead of an open and closed sliding door. And you miss the extra square footage for the veranda, but you get all the other amenities that you see here: the sitting area, the large bed, and then of course the walk-in closet and the marble bathroom that's not shown here. So I hope you guys agree that if this is as bad as it gets at Silversea, we can sign me up. And I love the color palettes, because again, space being so important in what we do and what we promise to customers, this light color palette really opens up the space and makes it feel larger than it might actually be. So our second destination where we're returning to service is in the Galapagos. Really excited because we are delivering a brand new ship here as well. And my buddy Carl got on camera right on cue. Carl is our director of expedition sales for the East Coast, and a guy I rely on a lot to make me sound like I know what I'm talking about. So instead of trying to get through this on my own, I've invited Carl to come in and tell us a little bit about the Galapagos operations. And Carl, you want to tell us a little bit about, so this is some of the islands that they'll see, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the first thing to mention is that here we're operating with a brand new ship as well. The Silver Origin. She was designed and built with the Galapagos in mind. She will only ever sail in the Galapagos. She was completed during the pandemic and delivered to us during the pandemic at a shipyard in the Netherlands, sailed across the Atlantic, through the Caribbean, through the canal, and she was off the coast of Ecuador for months and months and months. But a couple of weeks ago, we took her out to the Galapagos. The crew started to get vaccinated. They've had their second shots, and I think within days they're considered fully vaccinated. Some of our team is going over later this week for a short shakedown with the new vessel and to go to some of these brand new sites, because while all of this was going on, we were also petitioning the Galapagos National Park Service to make some changes to our itinerary and to improve them. And we were the lucky recipients, if you will, of 5 brand new sites in the Galapagos Islands within the national park. And they've never been used before. Nobody has ever visited them. And we will be the very first cruise operator to visit these 5 brand new sites starting on the 19th of June.
That's right. So Carl, you want to take them through what the package is? Because it's not just a 7-night vacation to the Galapagos, right?
No, not at all. It starts with your economy class international airfare, getting you to Quito, transfers into the city, 2 nights at the JW Marriott in Quito. We do an evening city tour on the Friday, and then on Saturday morning, transfers back to Quito Airport. The domestic flights, the 700 miles or so out into the Pacific, getting you to the islands. Now, for the medium term, what we're going to do is start and end all of the voyages in San Cristobal. We have one itinerary that's San Cristobal Baltra and another one that's Baltra San Cristobal. But for the time being, given COVID protocols and the requirement to sanitize the ship, we're going to do everything in and out of San Cristobal. There's just more there to do to keep your clients and to keep our guests occupied. So 7 nights aboard the ship, and then we do it in reverse. We fly back, but in this case to the mainland, just to Guayaquil, the port city. There's a day room because most of the international flights go later in the evening. So a day room, again, all the transfers included, and then back to the airport late in the evening on that Saturday for that overnight flight, typically back to Miami, occasionally back to Houston, depends on the airline, but the vast majority of times it's to Miami. But that's all included in the package. And of course, everything Joe mentioned as well. Once you get on board, Wi-Fi for everybody, Butler service for everybody. Tell us how you want your client's bar fridge and their bar stocked, and we'll stock it and we'll replenish it. Gratuities all included. And one of the differences with Expedition for the time being is that, as Joe pointed out, we are the infrastructure. Where we're going to these remote islands, there are no roads and no buses and no cars and marinas and yacht clubs and jet skis and motorboats. It's a beach, sometimes a boardwalk. So the Expedition team and the kayaks and the Zodiacs and everything that we have on board the ship become the infrastructure that we need to take with us to make this all happen.
That's right. And Carl, I just want to point out to the audience that this is not a new COVID type of procedure, or this is the package as it's laid out, and this is the package as we always deliver it. But to your point, the only difference with our summer deployment to the Galapagos is we're going to be running round trip Baltra. Yes.
San Cristobal.
Sorry, San Cristobal. That's why Carl's here. Anyway, so you want to take us through the itinerary? Tell us a little bit about what they're going to see in each one of these islands and what makes the itineraries maybe a little different from one another.
Sure. Well, the truth is that itineraries are quite similar now. There used to be greater difference between them. This one starting in San Cristobal, now this is showing San Cristobal, as it should, and so will the next one. But you can see, if you look to the left of the map, the westernmost islands, Fernandina and Isabella, if you look up do any search for the top 5 islands in the Galapagos, whether it's Condé Nast, Travel and Leisure, or Afar magazine, they will always list Fernandina and Isabella as the top, or within the top 5 islands. One of our itineraries did not include those 2. Both itineraries now include both of those islands. And what you get by including those is the Galapagos penguin, so an endemic penguin species to the Galapagos. Your clients will see those. And much greater chance of seeing sea turtles, the Galapagos green sea turtle, because they're all on that more Pacific side, if you will, those 2 islands, Fernandina and Isabella. Other than that, the differences start to become very, very particular. If your clients are real birders, if there's a specific species that they want to see, then reach out to your area sales director from Silversea or get in touch with Rachel or myself, and we'll walk you through that about what's going on each island at each time of year, because there's no bad time of year to go to the Galapagos. They're basically at the equator. There are no huge fluctuations in temperature or climate. There's a warmer, wetter period. There's a cooler, drier period. But again, if your clients are really specific about something that they want to see, then let us know. Let's have a conversation. Let's do a Zoom call with them like this, just private, and figure out why they're going and then which itinerary and what time of year suits them best.
Yep. And here's the second itinerary that we've just introduced. And to Carl's point, you see Isabella and Fernandina both represented here on this itinerary. And Carl, correct me if I'm wrong, are we the only cruise operator that's offering these both of these islands on both of our deployments?
On all of our sailings, yep, you'll always get to Fernandina and Isabella. Now, they're just slightly different enough that you could still send somebody back to back, and in those 14 days, they wouldn't repeat anything. They would go to the same islands, but different stops, different excursions on those islands. I think the other thing just to point out is, the iconic species, the reason most people are going to the Galapagos, they're going to see the giant tortoises, the blue-footed boobies, the sea lions, the marine iguanas. All of those species you will see on both itineraries any time of year. So if they're just interested in going to the Galapagos and they've got a window of opportunity that works for them, either itinerary will work.
So here's what's included, right? We talked about Expedition including everything. And of course, on board, we have an all-inclusive lifestyle, and that translates over to the Galapagos as well. It's a small ship. She's got, is it 2 dining venues to choose from?
She's got 2, yeah, the main dining room and then the grill, which is up top on deck 7.
That's right. And this is on the Silver Origin. Now, the prices currently for our return to service this summer, they do include the round trip economy class. Of course, all of our excursions are always guided with our guided tours and our expedition guides and experts. Even before COVID, after COVID, that's the way expedition is always going to run. You're always going to have those guides and those experienced people with you every step of the way. But again, value, guys, value being such a big part of the conversation. And we're making this really seamless for passengers to get there in a safe way. We have control of their vacations, with including the flights all the way from start to finish, really giving us a lot of flexibility in the event that there needs to be a change to ensure that we keep their safety. But we're welcoming them. Carl said it's our second new ship of the year from 2020. We took delivery of 2 brand new ships, believe it or not. One of them was delivered on time, which is this one. And she was built in Rotterdam at the Hoops shipyard in Rotterdam. Now, De Hoops is known for building luxury yachts, and boy, that's exactly what they did. They delivered to us a luxury 100-passenger yacht, and she is the most elegant, not only the newest, but she is without a doubt the most elegant ship to sail to the Galapagos on the Silver Origin, and this is what she looks like. So I love her sleek design. I love that we kept to this beautiful traditional design. You can see all of the windows, our designers and shipbuilders trying to bring the destination in as much as possible. In the Galapagos, Carl will tell you, it's one of those really, it's the one destination we're never too far offshore. We're maybe a few hundred yards offshore at any given time, and we're constantly passing by and sailing by islands. The water is so clear and turquoise, you can see marine life from your balcony. You could see migrating whales in the distance feeding. It really is a magical place, and you never know, you might even sail by an erupting volcano from time to time, which has certainly happened. But the idea is to bring in all these windows, bring in the destination and space. We talked about space and how important space is, and that translates even to the small ship. 100 passengers. You guys are probably expecting a really small ship, and it is. She's less than 8,000 gross registered tons. But what you get is these beautiful spaces when you walk in. This is the first thing your customers see. They've got these wide corridors. You've got these beautiful museum-style cases that have all of these artifacts on loan from the Royal Geographical Society in London, which, by the way, we're members of. And so was Sir Darwin, who sailed to the Galapagos on his expeditions and brought back all of his theories of evolution. Really, that was the birthplace of it, and visiting those islands. So making this ship a learning experience for your customers, not just ashore when you're there with our experts, but at the turn of every corner. Because that's really what expedition is all about. It's about enrichment, and that's what our customers are looking for. It's luxury cruising isn't just about opulent spaces and the expensive materials we use to build them. It has to do with real substance on experience and meeting cultures and experiencing wildlife. And that's why we've seen such a surge, not just on luxury, but on luxury expedition in particular. And the Silver Origin is really going to change the game. At the end of that corridor base camp, this is where you're going to meet your guides in the morning. Guys, really smart guys like Carl that are going to tell you all about the wonderful species and plants that you're going to see and visit, a little history on the islands and the exploration of those islands, and you and our customers will have an opportunity to interact with this wall when it's not being used by our guides, so that they can, again, continue that learning that they went there for. It really is such an important part of the overall experience. And space, again, looking at our suites, this is as small as it gets. This is one of our superior veranda suites, and the feature here, the really unique feature here, is we've gone away, actually borrowed a concept from our sister brand at Celebrity. They have horizon balconies. They've got infinity balconies. We've got horizon balconies. And the idea there is to have a space where your customers can either have that balcony as inside air-conditioned room and space, as you can see here in this photo, or you can close the partition, bring down that back glass wall, and make this now exterior space. And for those of you that think that going to the Galapagos, because it's on the equator, it's going to be hot all the time, I can tell you that that's not the case. Actually, in the evening, it gets somewhere around the mid to high 60s, low 70s, right, Carl? Is about the average.
Yeah.
So it can get a little brisk out there if you keep your balcony open too long. But we want to give this option to those customers that are moving up into the superior verandas. But again, space consistent throughout the entire fleet, even on the small ship like the Silver Origin, and the space that we have there. And another really neat feature about the Origin that I love is the fact that she never docks. She takes all of her provisions this way by barge. and by boat, and including fuel, and our passengers. This is how we receive your passengers. This is how they board the ship. We have crew here lined up at the marina with a very strong and firm sailor's grip, right, Carl? Get them on and off those Zodiacs. We're pros at this point. Remember, folks, we've been doing expedition now for 15 years, which makes us more than just experience. We're now experts at expedition cruising, and our crew are experts at expedition cruising and how to really deploy these products. So those customers that are thinking that they may be a little too old for an expedition cruise, or maybe not physically able to do that, I'll give you a few examples. I always joke, if you could play a round of golf, you can do an expedition cruise. And if you can go shopping at Black Friday and survive the day, you can definitely do an expedition cruise. If your elderly customers are concerned about getting in and out of the Zodiacs, if they can get in and out of a bathtub on their own, they can get in and out of the Zodiac on their own, and they're never going to have to do it alone. They're always going to have help from our crew. Carl, you want to add anything here?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Joe, thanks. With the new ship now, you can see there's no more gangway to go up or to come down in order to get in and out of the Zodiac. The little tailgate there at the marina that comes down, and then as long as your clients can shimmy along the pontoons on their bottoms, they get as close as they can. You can see those steps at the bow of the Zodiac. They just make their way up those steps. And again, there are plenty of sailors there and expedition team members to help them. That's as much as they need to do in terms of getting in and out of the Zodiac. So they just need to make their way down. You can see how many steps they have to navigate, and that's really it.
Yep. So we're really excited about this. So neat that she's either at anchor or she's held up with her GPS system and her thrusters in place all the time. And we try to use that thruster system as much as possible to preserve the area, right, Carl? Conservation for us is so big as a product, particularly in the Galapagos. We've got a beautiful foundation out there. Our guides are the best doing what they do. We have a girl that's been with us for a long time. Didn't she develop a method on identifying the Galapagos penguins?
Yeah, Aura, I think it's Aura Banda. She's one of the expedition leaders, and an amazing piece of news, or a great story as well. There are 4 expedition leaders that trade on and trade off, and typically they're on 4 weeks, off 4 weeks, but 2 men and 2 women, and all of them from the Galapagos. So all of the expedition team members, all of the Galapagos National Park Service guides that work with us, they are all permanent residents of the Galapagos. And who better to show you the Galapagos than people who live there, and they're showing you their backyard. Their parents and their grandparents grew up there, and this is considered a very, very good job. And we're helping to employ some of the locals and leave some of the money there. So it's a great, it's just this wonderful way of interacting with the local community.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really proud of this product. We hope that you bring your customers to see the Silver Origin this summer. I could tell you what a great experience that's going to be. There's not going to be many folks. You don't see many folks on this itinerary as it is, and less so in this time of the year. So please get them out there because we're going back to the ocean. Customers need to get back to seeing the world. And another place that we've just announced, so we've announced 4 different itineraries. We talked in detail about 2 of them today because that's really where I had most of my information from, but our itinerary team is working hard, our marketing team is working hard, our sales teams and our revenue teams are working hard to continue to add new itineraries. I don't have details on the Iceland deployment that was just recently announced last week. So I do want to let you know we are going to sail to Iceland on the Silver Shadow starting in July of this year. That is open for sale today. I don't have a slide on the itinerary, but I'll ask Carl to give us a little detail on the date and maybe some of the ports of call that we're going to.
Sure. So it's round trip Reykjavik. We're starting July 30th. And from Reykjavik, we're heading north. So we're doing a clockwise circle around Iceland. So starting, and any Icelanders, I apologize if I butcher the names, but you know what the names in Iceland are like. So Grundarfjordur, Ísafjordur, that one I can say because I've been there. Siglufjordur, Akureyri, which is up in the north, sort of midway along the northern coast. Húsavík, then we're coming around the east coast to Seyðisfjordur, then all the way around the south coast to Heimaey, and then back to Reykjavik. Starting on the 30th, and yeah, sorry, that's it, Joe.
Yep, and that's a 10-night. Now, Carl, for our mariners out there, when they sail around the northern part of Iceland, they're technically sailing the Arctic Ocean, are they not?
There's the tiny little tip of the very northwestern tip of Iceland that touches into the Arctic Circle. We were up there for Midsummer's Night, so June 21st, the solstice, and it was amazing because as we were getting up there, the newspapers in Iceland, always in the top right-hand corner of the front page of the newspaper, shows you the tide times and the sunrise, sunset times. And as we got closer to June 21st, I think it was that day we opened up the newspaper and there was nothing. There were just dashes for sunrise and dashes for sunset. And I said to our guide, there's something wrong with the newspaper today. And he said, let me see that. And he looked at it, he said, no, silly, today's Midsummer Night. There is no sunrise, there is no sunset. So
Right.
the sun came down. Yeah, we stayed up all night. We were in a natural hot spring, and the sun came down. It just kissed the horizon and then went back up. So yeah, you're technically in the Arctic at that point.
That's awesome. So for those mariners out there that are looking to sail on all 5 oceans, sailing around the northern part of Iceland does technically take you through the Arctic Ocean, and then back around to Reykjavik. So looking forward to selling out this itinerary. This is a really popular itinerary. Again, we're including everything. We have our airfare is included, economy round trip air is included. We have the excursions are included on this port of call as well. Excursions are included in Greece. If I didn't mention that, they are included in Greece. They're included in Iceland, and they're included in the Galapagos. So I think that's a really important to emphasize to your customers that the prices they see are all encompassing, and really they pay for their vacation long before they board. And we are returning to the 4th destination. Unfortunately, I don't have a slide at all for that one because we just opened for sale today. Today, we just opened for sale to Alaska. I'm so excited that the Silver Muse is going to be sailing 10-night round trip Seattle's starting July 29th with her first sailing. And the reason we did a 10-night sailing is she's going to be departing on a Tuesday or Thursday. The reason we did 10-night sailings is we wanted to make sure that we made a really worthwhile itinerary for your customers to go and visit. And wanted to give as much out of it as possible. It also allows us to sail and come back on weekdays, which makes the embarkation and disembarkation process from the Seattle Pier and Cruise Terminal much more seamless and quite frankly not as annoying for some of your customers. It's we don't want them to feel like they're part of a land invasion that day. It's going to be a busy port this summer. So we're looking forward to Alaska. We've got some great prices out there. Remember that the Silver Muse is a 596 passenger sister to the Silver Moon. She was first introduced in April of 17. She was the first to introduce the 8 dining room concept and open dining room setting. So please visit our website. We just opened for sale yesterday. And we've got wonderful results. It's a destination that your customers will flock to. They may not have been open to hearing about Greece or flying overseas, but Seattle's a domestic destination. We can get in and out of Seattle in about 6 hours from any corner of this country. We include the flights. You have freedom to select flights if you purchase a deviation fee, and you can work with our Silver Sky Desk to find the most comfortable routing for your customers. But there's an option to sail, and there's an option to sail now. It's close to home, and they can leave right from our backyard in Seattle. So with
Joe,
that,
sorry to interrupt you. I've just got the website up, so I just wanted to mention quickly where we are calling. So departing Seattle, as Joe said, on 10 and 11 night voyages starting July 29, calling in Wrangell, Sitka, Skagway, Juneau, Tracy Arm, and then making our way back south to Seattle.
That's right. So we're able to offer all those ports that we would normally offer in a 7-day run. But by adding those extra 2 days, we can get as far north as we need to without the need to call on Seward, or end in Seward. So that was congratulations to our itinerary planning team. I think they put together a really great product, something you guys can really sink your teeth into as travel professionals and sell to your customers as this is the experience that they need to have this summer. All right, so let's talk about what it's going to look like on board when they do get back for these 4 destinations, right? So the first thing is Silversea as a brand will require vaccinations from all customers. We're requiring all crew members to be vaccinated, we require all customers to be vaccinated, and we require our excursion operators to follow the same protocols. And that's on all 4 of these destinations that we'll be calling on. So we will need to have all passengers fully vaccinated by the time they're ready to board, and that means that their last shot would have had to have been administered at least 3 weeks before they're ready to board. Testing for all crew members, testing for all passengers will be administered. We will have complimentary antigen tests that will be administered at the pier. We will also have a number of health screenings that will take place at the pier. We're going to make this as unintrusive or you know, seamless as possible for your customers, as to not get too far away from the enjoyment of getting on the ship and getting their vacation started. But it's important that we really work hard to preserve this environment that we're all setting up and looking forward to setting sail with. So PCR tests, if you're flying into a country that requires a PCR test, that is going to be the customer's responsibility. We will check you at the pier with a rapid test. We will also check you again before you get off the ship and before you disembark. So all passengers embarking will be given a rapid test. All disembarking passengers will also be given a rapid test, and there may be scheduled temperature checks that happen throughout. These types of policies are a little fluid. They have been changing a bit in recent weeks, but it's important for you to know that we are adhering to the recommendations of the health organizations that govern the place that we visit. We're going to Iceland and we're going to Greece. The EU Healthy Gateways has told us that passengers must take our shore excursions when sailing abroad or when visiting abroad. And that they have to use our verified shore excursion vendors. You can take one of the ones, remember we include one excursion in every one of these ports. You can see which those are, which ones are offered on our website through these itineraries. And then you can purchase additional ones through these same verified vendors. And you can do so on board or online today by going to my.silversea.com. In the Galapagos, we're it, right? So you're always going to be with us ashore, and we're the guides, and we are the tour company. So the Galapagos, again, excursions will be there. Now, the CDC, oddly enough, has been really kind to us these last few weeks, and we're happy to say that their scientific findings have come back to say that their recommendation is fully vaccinated passengers do not have to take verified shore excursions. And so by default, all of our passengers, because we're carrying a fully vaccinated ship, all crew, all passengers have to be vaccinated. That means that you can go off ashore and explore on your own. You can purchase from any of the local vendors. You can purchase from one of the vendors that we provide. And in this particular case in Alaska, we will not be including excursions at these ports of call, as we want to give our passengers the freedom to visit and tour that destination as they see fit on that itinerary. So keep that in mind. Verified excursions are not going to be included in Alaska. There's no need for it. The CDC has said that as long as we have vaccinated ships, passengers can tour on their own. Masks. In Europe, customers are going to be required to wear masks in indoor spaces when transiting between the venues. They are going to be asked to wear masks in their terminals. They're going to be asked to wear masks through their shore excursions as well. And that is the guidelines that we have to follow in Europe. Once they're at their restaurants or their seats or in their rooms, of course, you don't have to wear masks. We will continue to monitor this situation, and we will change this policy wherever we can. We want to make this as comfortable and enjoyable for our customers as possible. But I think we've all come to terms with the way life looks outside of our front door. Is we wear a mask. We stay away from people we didn't go there with, and we make sure that we are safely apart from other large crowds. And that is what we're going to ask cruising to look like in Europe when we return. When it comes to Alaska, a little more laxed on that policy. Passengers will be required to wear masks in and out of the embarkation terminals, and as they're going in and out through some of the excursion venues, and we're in public where we know we're not surrounded by fully vaccinated people. But once you're on board the ship, masks will not be enforced outside of moving through the corridors in bunches. So, for example, in and out of the theaters, when you're in and out of the lifts, of course, the elevators, we're going to request passenger wear masks. But in Alaska, the CDC has given us the guidance that we can sail with a relaxed mask policy on board. All right, so what have we done to the equipment and some of our schedules and how we sanitize and get the ship ready for your passengers? Well, we've increased the level of grade that we use on our solutions. All hospital grade solutions are being used now. We doubled the schedule that we have in some of the public areas. Enhanced air filtration system throughout the entire ship. All passenger suites have 100% fresh air pushed with our HVAC systems. They're not sharing air ducts, and so they're getting clean air pushed through their suite 100% of the time. And then, of course, our medical facilities. You know, we have the most modern hospital in the Galapagos on the Silver Origin. It's actually true. And our equipment has been upgraded on all of our vessels, not just the 4 that are immediately returning to service. We've also increased the expertise and the requirements of experience for our medical staff on board to ensure that we can properly treat and react in the event of an emergency situation. So those are some of the enhancements that we've made to the onboard procedures and policies. And then, of course, the enhancements to the policies. How have we made your customers' purchase secure? How do we make them feel good about booking a vacation and making a vacation? We've relaxed our cancellation policies. You can now cancel up to 61 days prior to sailing on any 21 voyage and receive a full refund. 30 days prior to sailing, you can stay on until then and receive a full future cruise certificate, 100% value. If you cancel up to 30 days prior, in the event of a COVID-19, if we have to deny boarding because unfortunately someone you're traveling with is now COVID positive, or you yourself have tested negative on any of the COVID tests and protocols, then we will issue that credit to you in future cruise credit all the way up until the sailing date in the event that a denial of boarding occurs. And then, of course, our safe, timely return home. It's important that your customers know that our industry won't be caught off guard like we did last March. We're now very well prepared. We've got very strong protocols. We've been sailing for months. We've operated with hundreds of thousands of cruise passengers as an industry since late fall of last year, Silversea included. We operated a charter in the Red Sea with the Saudi government over the summer, and that went really, really well. Our protocols worked beautifully and perfectly, so we're confident. But in the event that we have to get someone off because of an infection or an illness, we will make sure that we help along the way to keep them comfortable, make sure that they get the proper treatment they need. When they purchase our air, we'll work with them for their repatriation costs and make sure that their return home is as seamless as possible. So we are very well aware of the concerns that last year created for our industry, and I'm here to tell you that we're ready this year, and we won't be caught off guard with this like that again. So with that said, I'm sure some of you have questions, but before we go off with that, I just want to end by showing and sharing with you a few of the websites that I think can really help you, our advisors, explain the destination difference with Silversea. I invite all of you to send your customers to our Discover Silversea blog. It's discover.silversea.com. This is the best way for us to describe what it's like to see the world through a Silversea ship, to have it explained through our experts, and hear the testimonials of our so loyal customers. Many of them were not cruisers until they went on an expedition cruise or sailed with other lines until they experienced what it's like to call on a classic port with Silversea. So please send your customers here. There's so much content. It's not just editorial. It's not just articles about a destination. It's recipes, it's podcasts, it's videos, it's photos, it's testimonials. This is really, really all encompassing, and it's the best way for you to help describe what the Silversea difference is to your customers. Send them to this website. By the way, there's no redirect here to my website. There's no offer of a shipboard credit. We're not selling a cruise here. We're really just sharing what our difference is. And for you, our advisor, please, please, please take our Silversea Academy. I have to thank my marketing team for being respectful of your profession and your time. They kept this to 20 minutes, but this is really worthwhile. I learned a lot taking this particular course. You can access it through the silverseaacademy.com, and I encourage you all, please go on there and get yourselves a chance to win a $200 gift card. And it did launch in February of this year, I think. Now, Carl, we also have some creative support for them through our Marketing Central tool, and this is where they could create a lot of different things like digital banners for their websites, custom flyers, invitations for some of the events that you are always hosting with the team. and they can access this through my.silversea.com. Can you give us an example or two of how maybe some of your agents or how you yourself have used this to help communicate with agents?
Yeah, so for example, an advisor taking a group and taking out a group option for Antarctica, because I'm often working on the expedition side of things. And we then want to host a virtual cruise night. They'll go on to mysilversea.com, specifically to Marketing Central, upload their logo, put their call to action with their name, their email address, their phone number, specify the date and time and what it is we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about Antarctica. And then with that flyer, it creates a PDF that they can easily email out to their database. More recently, now there's a way to specifically create emails as well. So it's well worth your time going in and exploring Marketing Central. There's a lot of information there and some great tools that can really help you get in touch with your customers and target them very, very specifically, either individually or as groups, but on specific voyages, specific dates, or a specific idea. A lot of powerful tools there.
Great, thanks, Carl. And thank you, Anna, for not playing me off stage 20 minutes ago. I told you the content of this would last about 30 minutes. I was wrong. We had a lot to cover, but I'm sure, well, I hope some of the advisors out there have some questions, even the tough one, guys. Don't let me off the hook. I'm here to answer anything I can.
Joe, I've been trying to address them as they've come up, but there's one. I'm sorry, Anna, go ahead.
Oh, no, take it away. You have been great at answering the questions, so keep going.
Okay. The most recent one that's here, what if someone tests positive while on board?
We have quarantine suites, so it depends on the situation, depends on how far down line we are on the ship. But we will consider disembarking them and getting them back home in the event that that's the right move. But we do have sections of the ships that have been that have been designated as quarantine suites in the event of an outbreak or an infection on board.
There were also some questions when we were covering the Galapagos and the Silver Origin about people with disabilities. I would ask you to get in touch with Rachel or myself, and we'll discuss the specific disability. If we're talking about guests in wheelchairs, someplace like the Galapagos or Antarctica or the Arctic, it's pretty limited because, again, we're landing somewhere where there is no infrastructure. And moving around via a wheelchair on a rocky beach isn't going to work, not in the traditional way. But if we're talking about someone with a cane or walker or something like that, let's talk about the specifics and find out what the team would be able to do for them. They always want to help, they always want to accommodate, but there are some limitations we just have to be realistic and pragmatic about. What's this one? So I guess, again, the similar question in terms of mobility issues, but let's say on the Silver Moon, Joe, and heading to Greece.
Yeah, it's one thing as Americans, we have great laws. Unfortunately, the rest of the world doesn't have to adhere to those, right? But the countries we visit through our classic product, obviously, these are first world countries. Many of them have these facilities. The ship itself, our ship is accessible. We have accessible suites, the accessible doorways, so the ship itself is fully accessible. And many of the ports that we're going to visit, particularly in Greece when we're heading back to the Mediterranean this year, you'll find that those countries are able to receive, and your customers will be able to enjoy that destination like they would most others.
Okay, why don't we take one last one, or maybe the second last one. What about people who cannot take the vaccine due to health problems? Can they still travel if they are not infected? Unfortunately
not. We've taken the stance for the immediate future, staying very strict to that policy. All passengers, regardless of age, are required to be fully vaccinated.
Thank you. What is the average age of the guests? And if there are children, what is the age range allowed?
Yeah, so on expedition, you have to be at least 6 years of age. Or Alex may have changed that, didn't he? I think Carl took the son. Carl helped change the policy for you guys.
I think the policy was in place already, but okay.
kidding. Yeah, 5 years of age is for expedition, and over a year old. You have to be over 12 months to sail on classic. We don't have facilities, medical facilities to treat infants, newborn babies, and so that's why we always make a recommendation to have at least 12 months on the classic voyage. Of course, you know, if there needs to be an exception made and you want to investigate that, I encourage you to work with our inside sales team. And if it's possible, we will go through the proper channels and get the proper documentation to see if we can make an exception on the 12-month open. For the most part, it's 12 months on classic, 5 years on expedition. And our average age, you know, it varies. I think you'll find a lower average age on expedition. You'll find the highest average age on our longer voyages because our Venetian Society members love to sail on long voyages. But we're somewhere in the 60s. I'd say in the low 60s if we're going to average it out.
That's it. The one here are the ships kid friendly, but I think we've addressed that talking about the
we can be. You know, our kid, what I love about luxury cruising with family is you cruise with the family, right? And so when I've taken my kids on a luxury cruise, and I've taken them on the big guys too, you know, I take them to the big kids area and I'm getting called in about 45 minutes because it's like the first day of school. You know, his friend that he had there yesterday, he's found a new friend. He got there too late. Now he's got to go start all over again and find a new friend today. Well, on luxury ships, you're dealing with maybe 20 to 40 kids on a really popular itinerary. And so they stick together. They really enjoy each other's company, and then they stick with you too. You get to enjoy your vacation with your children. So think about luxury cruising that way. You spend a lot more time with yourself, and your kids don't mind spending time with you, which is the best part.
That's it. No more questions. Oh, hang on. They keep coming in. Sorry, Joe. If we've got time for one more, we've got 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Do we have an all-adult ship?
We do not have an all-adult ship. We do not. But if you want an all-adult ship, try the transatlantic sailing going to Lisbon next year.
No one wants to spend that much time with their kids on days at sea.
Not at sea.
All right, that's it. Thank you very much, everybody.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe and Carl. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a fantastic rest of your week.
Bye, everyone. Hope to see you on the moon soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.